And welcome back to the next tool haul video. In this video we're going to start off with the Ready Smoke from Redline. It's kind of a heavy hitter tool because it's kind of expensive. Now I've been having this tool for a few months already, and I thought I included it in my last tool haul video, but I checked the video and no, it's not in there, so I simply just forgot to include it. So yeah, I've had plenty of time to use it and it works great. The smoke that comes out of it is very heavy. It's very noticeable whenever there's a leak on a vehicle. It works great. There's a fan right here on the sides to keep the unit cool. It has the clamps right here to connect to a battery on a vehicle. It has the fitting on the back side to attach your air line. I don't know if you can see it. It's down here. And this is where your smoke is going to come out of. And it's nice because it has this like Velcro, like a belt to hold everything in place, as you can see how I have it now. So the unit does work very well. I'm very happy with it, except for one thing. And if you watch Scanner Danner's channel, he has the same exact unit, and he's come across the same problems that I've had, where this float right here gets stuck sometimes. And the first time this ever happened to me, I did not know about it, and all it did was just cost me a lot of time until I realized what was going on and why I wasn't getting any smoke out of the machine. I noticed that, like, right now I haven't used it in over a month, okay? So I'm pretty sure the next time I go to use this thing, the float is going to be stuck. I noticed that when it sits for too long, it gets stuck. Now the only solution I found to getting this unstuck is to pretty much turn the unit upside down and just start giving it a few taps on the side until the float actually becomes free. And that's all I found that pretty much works to fix that problem, and it just kind of sucks because it's a constant problem. Besides that, the tool works great. I absolutely love it. It's a great investment. So when you get the machine, you're also going to get this. Now I probably shouldn't say you're going to get this, because when I bought this, I don't know if it was like optional, you know, to get this stuff. So I don't want to say it comes with it, but this is what my kit came with. Because I don't know if you could just buy the tool separate and not get any of the accessories. I don't know how they're doing that. But you can see we have a bag full of different adapters to plug things off, so that's pretty neat. Here goes another adapter to like plug into where you would put your fuel in your gas tank. That's cool. Here goes the actual liquid that goes in the smoke machine to create the smoke, and I believe it's just, yeah, it says right there, it's just mineral oil. So it's not witchcraft in a bottle, it's just regular old mineral oil, okay? Now they do include a flashlight, which I've never really used it because I have my own flashlight that I just used. But it's pretty neat because it doesn't require batteries. You can see right here, you just tap into the battery on the car, and it looks like it has plenty of wire right here. And yeah, so it's pretty neat to have. So that's cool. You get some instructions. What else? And there is this to remove like Schrader valves. As you can see, I haven't really used it because I already have one of these tools, but it's nice that it includes one. Alright, and then there's something else inside of here that I actually here it goes. That I just noticed it was inside of here, and I've been looking to get one of these, and I was actually gonna buy one. So I open up the box and I see it in here, and I'm like, sweet, now I don't have to go out and buy one. This attaches to like your Evap port, and then you could put your smoke right in here, your adapter, and it lets you introduce smoke into the Evap system via the Schrader valve. Now if you look, let's see if I get this right, you see the light passing through, meaning there is no valve inside of here. So in order to get this to work, you got to be sure that you remove the valve off of the car, because if you don't remove the valve, when you put your smoke in here, you're going to think you don't have a leak, but in reality you're not even introducing smoke into the system. So just make sure you remove the valve, which people find, people don't, let's just say I've seen online that people don't like this because the valve itself could be a source of a leak. So if you go removing it to put your adapter on, you could be inadvertently eliminating your source of your leak and not even knowing it, okay? But it's still pretty neat to have, and it's gonna save me a few bucks because now I don't have to go out and buy one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this back in here and try not to forget that I have it. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and close all of this up and put everything away. But like I said, it is a great little tool to have. I'm really happy with it. The only biggest downside to it is whenever this float gets stuck. That's about it. That's all I could complain about. Everything else is great. It works great. It works flawlessly. The smoke is very heavy and I'm really happy with it. So let's move on to the next tool. We have the McPherson Strut Spring Compressor tool. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys or girls are familiar with this tool. They can be sketchy sometimes to use, you know, kind of scary. But sometimes it's the only option that's really gonna fit on, you know, the job that you're working on. I've come across that because I have the other types, you know, like the giant jaws that look like the jaws of life, and sometimes those just aren't gonna fit in, you know, the type of job that you're working on. So you have no choice but to use this type. Yeah, I mean, they look okay. I've used them before and they work fine. No real wear on the actual threaded rod. Looks good to me. And it's just like a traditional design. So you can't really reinvent the wheel with this thing, right? And of course, it's gonna come with 2 of them, so you could compress your spring. And I don't know what else to say on these. They work, right? That's about it. You know, it's such a simple, basic tool. I know it took me forever to finally buy a set, but yeah, I finally got them. I bit the bullet, right? They're not too expensive. But it's one of those things where I just wait till I buy them till when I need them, and that's exactly what happened. I knew I was gonna need them for a job that was coming up, so I just bought them. Alright, so next up we have the Lang brake caliper tool for small calipers. See it right there. So here goes the new one, and this is kind of hard to do. Alright, so you could see it's low profile, and you could distinguish it from the old one that I have right here just by this portion of threaded rod that's sticking out, because the other one does not have it, as you can see. But this one only accommodates larger brake calipers like what you would find on the front of a car, and it works perfectly. I love this thing. I use it all the time. But when you put them side by side, so hopefully I could get this, you could see how the small one has a much smaller profile, and it's going to fit smaller brake calipers, what you would find on the back of a car. Okay, now it's not going to work for twist in pistons on calipers. It's only going to work for the ones that have to be pushed in. So that's going to limit it right there on the calipers that you can use it on. But just the other day, I had 2 cars here where I was doing the rear brakes, and none of my regular tools would not fit the rear calipers because they were so small that I had to resort to like a large set of pliers in order to push the piston in. And had I had this tool, I would have been able to get it done. So as you can see, that's why it looks brand new. I have not used it, so I'm looking forward to using it, and hopefully I could get you guys some footage of that. But yeah, it works great. This works great, and I'm in love with it, so I knew this was just gonna help and it would work just as well. These Lang tools seem to be pretty good quality, and so far I've been pretty happy with them. So with that being said, let's move on to the next tool. Next up, I have a tool from Laser Tools. It's a brake caliper file. Now they do have 2 different sizes, and I believe I chose the smaller size. So if we zoom in right here, you should be able to see it's like a file, like with very aggressive cuts on it, and hopefully that's focusing. Now I first saw this on South Main Auto. Okay, Eric was using one of these, but it was a different brand, right? And he said they're wicked cool, they cut like crazy. So like, I want to try it out. But when I looked up the brand that he advertised, I thought they were kind of expensive for what it is, because at the end of the day, it really is just a file, right? So I thought it was expensive, so I went for the cheaper option, and I figured, well, if these are the bee's knees, then I'll go ahead and get the more expensive one, right? The one he was talking about. Well, after trying this, it's not really cutting like I expected to. A lot of times it just kind of glides right over the rust, you know what I mean? So is this because I decided to go with a different brand, you know, a part that costs less? You know, if had I chosen the more expensive one, like the one he was advertising, would it cut like he was saying it cuts? I don't know, you know, but at the end of the day, to me, it's just a file, but it cuts no different from like a standard file that I already have in my toolbox. I think the nicest part about it is the handle, because all the files I usually use don't have a handle on them, so I'm just, you know, there like this with my hand. So definitely it's nice to have a file on them, and it's nice that it fits on brake calipers perfectly right in the grooves or where the pads are going to slide. So those are the upsides to it. The downsides are, it just, like I said, it just doesn't cut like I expected it to. So I don't know, maybe I should have just bit the bullet, and it's just one of those tools where I should have just paid the money for the name brand that he was talking about. Maybe I would have had a different experience with it. I don't know, but let's move on to the next tool. Alright, so next up we have another tool from Laser. Get this off of here. So it's a wiper arm puller set, and they call it a set because you can see how it has two different sets of arms in here that you could use to accommodate different situations. So it's pretty neat because all you have to do is you know, unscrew this right here, and you can remove this arm and then remove this arm. So now, and then you could set this to any width that you need to accommodate whatever wiper arm you're trying to pull or whatever. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty neat idea how to get everything in one small package. And the threaded rod right here feels nice and smooth. It just feels like a good quality piece. And I think you know, this whole screwing in thing on top is a really nice touch, and it's just a great idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off of here, and we could compare the two different arms that they have. Let's see if I get this in focus. So you could see how they're like different profiles, right? So they're gonna accommodate different situations. So I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, so if you don't want to use the small ones, you remove them and you put on the two larger arms, and that's it. So I've used it a few times, and it has actually saved my bacon a few times, and it's a pretty cool tool. And yeah, like I said, feels really nice. And what's nice is the top half right here, you could actually fit a socket over it if you need that extra torque to really tighten something down. You know, they don't got that little rod coming through here that only has like this much length, and you can only apply so much torque. This, you could actually put a socket on it and just really go to town on it. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. So far it's been pretty good to me. It's a pretty neat idea if you ask me. So let's put it back in its box and move on to the next tool. Alright, so next up I have a single plier here, and it's from, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but from Wild or Wildy. See that right there? Hopefully it's picking up. But it's a set of external snap ring pliers, so you can see when I squeeze the handle it actually opens up. And if you look at the sides here, you can see it has those cuts in it and even a dimple to grab onto snap rings. So it's pretty neat. Now when I was looking online for these, I was actually looking for a set of internal snap ring pliers, and I couldn't find any, but I came across these. And I thought, you know what, one day I'm gonna need these, and it'll be nice to have them, and it's gonna save my bacon someday, right? So I picked them up. That's it. Nothing wrong with having too many tools, right? Now obviously I have not used them, so I can't give you my real impressions on them, but just off the top of my head, just like in my hands, they feel decent. You know, they don't feel like a cheap tool. They feel well constructed. This is like nice and solid. I don't feel any play at all. And the spring in the center feels like it has just the right amount of pressure. So far it's feeling good. These pieces feel like really heavy duty. Like they're not gonna flex or bend when you're trying to get off a snap ring. Alright, so next up we have some tools from Astro Pneumatic. We have two die grinders. We have a straight one and a 90-degree angle one. Now of course they don't come with these attachments on here. I put these on myself because I've been using them. But here's the packaging they come in. You can see it's a set that they come as. I'm sure you could buy them separate if you wanted. and they are going to come with the wrenches or the spanners to change the bits on the end. But one thing I found that was really weird is that the 90-degree and the straight don't use the same spanners. Like, they're different sizes. So when you open up the packaging, you're actually going to get 4 of these because they're different sizes. I just thought it would have made more sense to make everything the same size so you could, you know, same wrenches fit. This just kind of becomes annoying when you need to look for a specific spanner to fit the one you're working at. I don't know, I just think it's kind of annoying. But that's one of the minor issues I have with these. Now, you may have noticed this right here, and this is my old Harbor Freight unit that I've had for years and it's always worked, but it's actually really loud, and I didn't realize how loud it is until you get one of these. So it's like I really had nothing to compare it to until I got these. At that point, you realize how loud these are, because these are much quieter in comparison to the Harbor Freight unit, and that alone just sold me on them. I was already happy that I bought them just based off of the noise that they put out. You can see the body has like this plastic overmold on it. It's not just like a metal casing like this is right here. So I think it's really nice, but obviously it's going to add to the girthiness of it. So it's going to be much thicker in the hand. And the 90-degree angle one is slightly thinner. You know, it's not as big. So the straight angled one is a little bit bigger. But besides that, they work great. Like I said, they're not as loud. And I have a few of Astro Pneumatic's other tools, and not one of them have failed me. They all work great. The nice thing is they're really affordable. That's the nice thing about Astro's tools, is they work great, good quality, and very affordable. So like your other tools, this kind of falls in line with what I was expecting. And so far I'm really happy with them. And since I got these, this is pretty much retired. I don't even touch this anymore. So since we're looking at these, it just makes sense to point these out. These are some other tools that I picked up, and I bought them at the same time that I picked up these die grinders, and they're just bits, you see? They're just bits to grind metal. And I don't spend a lot of money on these. Number one, because I see them as disposable. They're going to wear down over time, you know, wear and tear, and they're going to get to a point where they're not really cutting like they should, and at that point, just toss them out. So you could argue saying, well, if you buy a good quality set, they'll last you longer and blah blah blah, and maybe that's the case, but I don't use these enough to warrant spending that kind of money on a good quality set. I'd rather buy the cheap ones, and when they no longer work that well, toss them out and buy another set. That's just my opinion. You know, if you've had good luck with a nice quality set and you say they last a long time, that's okay. That's up to you. But for me, I prefer to buy the cheap ones, and when they go dull, just toss them out and buy another set. So there's pretty much nothing else to talk about these. They're just bits. So with that being said, let's move on to the next tool. Next up, we have this ATE test card for magnetic sensor wheels. So basically, you just pull this, see the little arrow, pull this out, and boom, you got a magic trick. Look at that. That classic rabbit out of a hat. No, I'm just joking. But use this for the magnetic strips on wheel bearings, and I'll show you a clip of that. And it's so that you could check to see if the magnetic strip is any good on a new wheel bearing before you put it on the car. Because that would really suck if you get a damaged one and you go through all that trouble to put it on the car, only to find out that it's setting ABS or traction codes or whatever, because the magnetic pickup on the new wheel bearing is damaged, and now you have an ABS light on, and now you have to change the wheel bearing all over again. So it's a pretty simple tool. And on the back here, let's see if we can zoom in. They give you an example of that. Let's see if you guys can see that. Other than that, it's a nifty little tool. You don't need it often, but it doesn't hurt, though. It takes a second of your time to check the magnetic strip before you put on a wheel bearing. And I think it's just one of those little neat tools to have, you know, just in case. Alright, so next up we have another attachment for the air hammer. So let me go ahead and get this out of here. Now, this is another Astro Pneumatic tool. Yeah, and you can see it's just a like a chisel type or a honestly, I don't know what to call it. It's just a pointed type bit, right? So it just goes in air hammer. And the reason why I picked this up is actually for CV axles. You know, when they're stuck in the hub and you're trying to push the axle through the hub, well, you don't want to hit it with a regular bit, because then you could damage the threads and mushroom it, and then it's going to be hard to fit the nut over the threads, right? So a lot of CV axles actually have like a little hole or a punch something in the center, and that's where this comes into play. So you would hit right in the center where it has that hole or the punch on the CV axle, and you could push the axle through the hub without causing any damage to the actual threads or mushroom the top of it. So that's the only reason why I picked this up, and it, as you can see, it's taking a beating, so it's doing its job. Can't really complain about it. It's doing what it's supposed to do, and that's it. So let's move on to the next tool. Alright, so here I have a big heavy box. Now I believe I got this on eBay, but you can find them on Amazon, and on the listing it just says like a press or pull sleeve kit, remove bearings and bushings, you know. So that's pretty much what it does, and I thought it would be really useful for the press, you know, the Harbor Freight shop press that I have in the garage. You know, all these different cup sizes and things like that. Sometimes you need different size or assortment of things like this in order to press things out. So I hope that makes sense to people. And then these threaded rods are really useful for when you need to like press out a bushing that's attached to a knuckle, and the knuckle is still on the car. So this is going to allow you to do that. You may have to YouTube videos on how this tool is used exactly, because I know it's kind of hard to pinpoint or imagine what I'm talking about. But I have not used it to press out any bushings in the knuckle, not yet. But I have been using the cups and, you know, these various adapters to press out things on the shop press. So in that aspect, it's working well, and it has plenty of different size adapters. And it's just one of those tools that it's just nice to have around, that you know, when you find a perfect adapter that fits the situation you're working with, that alone makes it worth having. So let's move on to what I think is the final tool. Alright, so I lied. I have one more tool after this one. Alright, so here I have the Pomona insulating piercing clips, and it just comes in a 3-pack like this. So obviously they're for piercing wires, and you can see they have this sleeve that you would pull back, and once you go over the wire that you're trying to pierce, you just go ahead and turn this knob, and the needle is going to come through in the center right there and pierce the wire. So I hope that makes sense. And then you could put like your banana jack right on the back here to get a reading. So they're pretty neat, and they're really useful for wires that are just in tough places to reach that you can't really back probe. So these are a must-have, and I just got them the other day, so I've had them for like 1 day. Okay, so I'm looking forward to using these, and yeah, pretty neat stuff. So let's move on to the last tool for real this time. Alright, so last but certainly not least, here we have the Mini Inductor 2. See that right there? And it's basically like a flameless torch. Okay, it's for heating up nuts and bolts and things of that matter without actually pulling out a flame. Alright, and so far it's worked well. The other day I had it turn off on me while I was using it, and I actually thought I broke it, but it just turns out it overheated because it was a really hot day and I was using it quite a lot. So it turned off for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes until it cooled down, and then it was right back in action again. But I love this thing. It's pretty neat, it's pretty cool, and it'll get something like a nut or a bolt like red hot, and it's amazing. It really does help remove things, especially when you're dealing with rust like I usually am. So this is the box it's gonna come in. The box is all dirty because I just kind of keep it open in the garage. It doesn't come with much. You know, you got your instructions and, you know, other items that they sell, things like that. Let's see, what is this? More instructions, I guess. You know, so they give you some examples right there, and more paperwork. I don't know, more maybe other items that they sell. Don't know. I haven't really looked at it. So it doesn't come with much. You get the actual tool, and then you get like you know, 2 or 3 of these right here. So they give you one that's really wound up. They give you another one that's just more like a straight piece of line, and I kind of put this loop in it myself. As you can see, I already used it. And then they just give you a straight up like extension that you could wrap around, do whatever you need to do with it to get it into, you know, to accommodate whatever you're working on. And at the same time that I bought this tool, I knew I was going to need, because obviously these wear out and you have to replace them. So you could go on eBay or Amazon and just find a generic kit like this and buy them, because I found that if you try to buy these directly from the company that makes a tool, they get really expensive. So it's way more affordable to just buy them off of eBay or Amazon, just like generic, like Chinese made stuff, whatever, you know. And I've used them and they work just as well. So, but yeah, there isn't much else to say on this, but you know, this is one of those type of tools that really, you just got to show it, demonstrating what it does. It's way better than just talking about it. So obviously you know, you push the button and it's got a little LED light right here that turns on, and then it's got these knobs right here that you loosen and tighten, and that's how you remove you know, whatever you put in here, just like that. So I'm gonna obviously put up some clips showing it in action, and you could see how hot this thing gets any nuts or bolts, and just really helps. So I think it's a great idea, and hopefully it doesn't break on me anytime soon like I thought it broke last time. But that's it for this tool haul. There's a lot of money in this tool haul. I noticed that. It got quite expensive, but it's over time, you know, so whatever, right? If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and like always, thanks for watching.